This is Hiring on All Cylinders, live from HR Tech. Hello, my dear, sweet recruiting and HR pals. Hiring on All Cylinders surges onward with undaunted resolution, once again live at HR Tech. Joining me now is the co-founder at Aptitude Research Partners, Madeline Laurano. Madeline, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm thrilled to be part of this.
So you have your first session has kind of a unique format. It's almost like, I guess, the voice for recruiting technologies. You want to walk us through the whole process of that?
Exactly. So it was actually an idea that Jason came up with when we were in China with Steve Bose, and Trish was there as well. And it's basically 8 companies, and there were 4 judges. So each judge had 2 companies that they coached for the past few months and helped prepare to give a live demo at the conference. And it was very fun, very exciting, and we had a good time doing it.
So then what were they looking for in their selected teams? Like, what was there kind of like what technology they thought was going to be the most exciting, or was maybe just the makeup of the team itself?
Yeah, and it was really looking at the next great technology for HR. And there was a big mix of different solutions out there. So there were providers that were doing recruitment. Clinch, a company that I worked with, does recruitment marketing. They have an amazing, amazing product. And then there were companies that do recognition and wellness and performance. There was a company that does investigations, technology to actually do investigations for employees and have that compliance. So it really was an interesting mix of different providers.
Cool. So that session is called Discovering the Next Great HR Technology Company. In your humble opinion, what is the next great HR technology company, and why is it Intello?
I love it. Well, I love talent acquisition. So to me, most of the innovation, most of what's happening that's exciting in this market and really transformative is happening within the talent acquisition space. And you guys certainly are a big part of that.
Definitely. Plug. I love it. So then you have 2 sessions, actually. HR Tech cannot get enough Madeline Laurano. The second one is called the Employer Value Proposition, what the CHRO needs to know. So how can companies build an EVP that can adapt to people from various regions and backgrounds?
Yeah, I'm excited about this session, and I'm doing it with Trish McFarlane. And I think what I'm most excited about is EVP is kind of an old idea. It's thinking about the employer value proposition and what it means for companies, and it's kind of an antiquated idea, but what's happened is the workforce has changed so much that companies really need to think about having an individual approach for how they treat their employees.
Yes.
It's not just this one broad idea, and you guys certainly understand that with the technology you have, is making it personal. And CHROs need to think about that, not just as this old antiquated model, but now in the changing workforce. How do we think about areas like employer branding? How do we think about our culture? How do we think about wellness? How do we think about communication? And how can we help to empower that employer and employee relationship?
So then the EVP is not just like one mission statement, right? It's
Exactly.
like a very amorphous kind of malleable thing that you can fit to people wherever they're being hired.
Exactly. It's looking at the person, not at just one, to your point, mission statement.
So then when you're developing an employer value proposition or your employer brand, your company basically decides this is who we are and this is how we want to relate to our employees. How then can that company wield that information to attract talent?
Yeah, it's so important, and I think that's where the employer branding piece comes into play. It's how do we think about what our company is and getting that message out there as we're doing our employer branding, our sourcing, our recruitment marketing efforts, and make that transparent. I think what happens so often, and I'm sure you see this too, is that the actual employer value proposition is not what's being translated to candidates. And
Right.
There's a huge disconnect. Talent acquisition is very separate from HR in most companies, especially large companies, and that message is not being communicated. So how do we make sure that we have consistency around the candidate experience, the employee experience, and this whole strategy around EVP?
So then in your opinion, who has to own that? Is it a joint effort? Does the talent acquisition team say it's us? Like, I guess it's developed in other places, the organizations. Where does that all come together?
I think it's owned by the employees, actually. I think they're the ones that come up and help to create what that message is with the employer. And then certainly communicated and included in the talent acquisition process.
I love it. walking around the show, what kind of trends are you seeing? We're seeing a lot of like stuff on automation, on AI. What do you think's the next big thing? What's like the base of the show this year, you think?
So AI has been the biggest topic. I'm glad you brought that up. It's kind of blown me away how many companies offer some type of new AI, and all the startups seem to be focused on that. The other, I think, main trends I've seen are a lot of international companies trying to come into the U.S. market, whether it's from Japan, whether it's from India, and we're seeing a lot of international presence here at the show, more than I've seen in the past. So that's been exciting and interesting. And then I think there's kind of a call to the basics. We've been talking about communication a lot this year, and I see that in a lot of the technology out there in the market today. It's companies that want greater communication either with candidates on the talent acquisition side or with their employees on the post-hire side, and how can solutions enable that communication.
I love it.
It's basic, but it's needed, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The employer value proposition, what the CHRO needs to know, is Thursday, tomorrow at 11 a.m., 11 to 12.
Madeline, miss it.
Don't miss it. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be amazing.
Madeline, thank you so much for joining me. This has been great.
Thanks for having me.